Okay, so in this lecture we're going to discuss osmosis and how this relates to red blood cells. Okay, we're going to discuss what happens when we place a red blood cell in a concentrated solution versus a dilute solution or a dilute solvent. Okay, so here I have 3 different beakers set up, right? This is the water, and then each of these is what's representing a red blood cell. So there are 3 main types of solutions that we're going to discuss. So we have what's known as a isotonic, we have a hypertonic solution, and then we have a hypotonic. So when we say tonic, what we're referring to here is what's in the concentration of our solvent. Okay, so if it's a hypertonic solution, the concentration, it's going to be more concentrated here in our solvent. So if let's say we're talking about glucose, so we'll have high glucose here for the solvent, and for the hypotonic, you'll have a low glucose concentration. And so this is in relation to the glucose concentration that's inside the cell, right? That's what we're comparing it to. Okay, so we have hypertonic, hypotonic, and isotonic. Isotonic means that there are about roughly equal glucose concentrations. Okay? All right, so let's say the first one let's talk about is an isotonic one. So this is the easiest one. So we have our red blood cells here, so I'm going to write isotonic here. So when it's isotonic, there is an equal concentration of glucose that's here. Let me write this down here. So there's an equal concentration of glucose in our red blood cell and then in our solvent. In this case, it'll be water. But what happens when we place it in a hypertonic solution? So where is it going to be where is there going to be a higher concentration of glucose, on the inside of the red blood cell or outside of the blood cell? On the outside, right? Remember, because I was saying whatever, if it's hyper is like more, hypo is less. So if it's hypertonic, that means there's a higher concentration of glucose in the solvent. So our glucose concentration here in the solvent is going to be greater than our glucose concentration within our red blood cell. So if that is the case, if there's a higher concentration here on the outside, what is going to be the direction of osmosis? Where is water going to flow to balance this higher concentration here on the outside? It's going to go outside of the cell. Right? So the water is going to flow out, right, to balance this, because it's going from a it's more concentrated here, so the water is going to leave. And so what's going to happen to this cell? Is it going to shrivel or is it going to burst? If water leaves, it's going to shrivel. So our cell shrivels. What about, so I'll just do this over here. So we have a hypotonic. For a hypotonic, what is going to be our glucose concentration in the solvent? It's going to be less than the glucose concentration within our red blood cell. So we have a higher concentration of glucose in here. So what is going to be the direction of the flow of water? It's going to go inside. It's doing the opposite of a hypertonic solution. And what is going to happen to our cell? Is it going to shrivel or is it going to bloat and burst? Yeah, so our cell bloats or bursts. All right, so any questions regarding this? No? All right, so that's it for this lecture.